Listen, I don't know what happened last time, but like I was trying to say, I'm Connie, and welcome to... Okay, I don't know what's going on there, but we're back with Season 2, Episode 2 of Invincible, and yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes, because we got a really tragic villain set up here with, Anton Levy, or whatever the fuck his name is, Angstrom Levy? Something like that. Um, it's a unique name. But yeah, he's set up to be our main villain. He's a guy who had the power to travel to other universes and eventually created like this Council of Reeds kind of situation with the versions of him from all these other universes in order to, protect and save and make everything better, to achieve, the cure to cancer and everything in all universes and all that jazz. Stuff like that. He ends up working with the Mahler twins because they're smart. That's pretty much the reason. But shit ends up going very wrong, and he ends up kind of absorbing all of the knowledge and personalities of the others, which just drives him insane. And mind you, he was trying to do something like that anyway, but in a more controlled way. Things just go tits up basically when all the Maulers start attacking Invincible, and everything just goes wrong from that. It's a shit show. But now he wants revenge, and yeah, it's not great, especially because of in a lot of universes, Mark ended up teaming up with his father and taking over the world. And so a lot of the Angstroms probably have beef with that, which is not great for our main one. Sorry for the lighting, by the way. It's just that time of the day and everything. And surprisingly, the sun is like peeking out from behind clouds, even though it's been snowing a lot lately. Go figure, right? But yeah, during this episode as well, we have Mark dealing with like the depression and like pain and trauma of everything that happened with his father, and just kind of learning to not really get over it. Oh, hey, speaking of going behind clouds, not really trying to get over it exactly, but trying to like live with that having happened. And his mom Debbie is also doing the same. A lot of crazy shit, a lot of insanity, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he continues to develop after all of this, and what else we continue to see. So otherwise, I think we should just get right into this. I think it's going to be just beneficial to see what happens. Why waste any more time? So let's get into this and hope for the best with episode 2. Hold up just a second there. Before you click that link down in the description below to go to today's reaction, I just wanted to take this moment real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the awesome gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. Every single day of the week, we have some awesome Let's Plays for you. A bunch of different things to check out, and more coming in the future. And don't forget to click that subscribe button or like the video if you really enjoy the content I'm putting out. There will be more to come in the future. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in, and let's get this going. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I don't know if it's just because there's only 8 episodes in the season, which I think is about the same as season 1, mind you, but this... I feel like this happened in season 1 too. It's been a while, mind you, so I might not remember everything, but I feel like this was an issue back then as well. There's just way too much in this episode. There are way too many plot lines. I feel like there was like 6 or 7 different plot lines that were happening in this episode. and it's switching between them like kind of randomly and haphazardly, so that some of them just don't get the time they need. Some of them are really random. And even with one or two of them, it's like you have a shit ton of stuff happening just in that storyline. Like with Mark, it's like Mark deals with like what, four different threats in this episode, four different things. Because he dealt with Doc Seismic, he dealt with the entire stuff with the Atlanteans, he dealt with Darkwing's side or ally friend. What was the term? Having a bit of a breakdown here. Hold on. Not sidekick. He specifically said they didn't use that word. Partner. Let's just say partner. That might have been what he said. But it's like, and I think there was something else as well that he was also dealing with during all of this. And it's just like, oh my god. And mind you, I'm not talking about the Mark at the end, who also is like, you have to bring in the Angstrom Levy stuff. You also have Eve's storyline in this episode. You have Debbie having her own storyline. It's just like, oh my god. It's just a bit too much. And I understand you're going to have a bunch of stuff, but it's like you also have to bring in, you're bringing this new Martian guy who's now like at least working alongside the Guardians at the moment, so you have to have that entire plot line going into play. You have the stuff being brought up about why the fuck is Donald here? How the fuck is Donald here? You have the other stuff with the Martians going on, with the dude who's still up there, I guess, and is like being possessed by one of those creepy alien things. And it's just like, oh my god. It's just so much. It's just so much. You have the Lizard League. You have that entire scene with like the King Lizard being broken out of jail somehow, I guess, and taking back over. And it's just like, there's so goddamn much. It's like, how do I even begin to talk about everything that was in this episode? When there's like half a dozen different plot lines going on at once, it's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to remember everything. So if there's anything I forget to talk about here that you want to hear my thoughts on specifically, please not message me. Please comment down below. I read all the comments, so I'll be able to respond to you. It's just, it's hard to like remember everything in the moment. So I think I'm going to focus more on talking about like some of the big things. And just the things I really want to focus on. So let's start with Angstrom Levy at the end there. So he's in this other universe. One of the universes where Invincible became a bad guy. Where Mark joined his father and everything. And so now, apparently, I think it was saying that his father was taken down already. And now he was caught when he was sleeping. And instead of doing something to hurt or kill this version of Mark himself, Angstrom instead is leaving it up to, I guess, the government there. He lets the gender-bent versions of Cecil and Donald take command and do as they will, while he goes off to, I guess, take care of another situation in another universe. It's really interesting because, like, the idea that he's not doing anything himself, but letting them take back control, letting them take back the power and everything in their separate universes, it kind of goes in line with what he was like prior to losing his mind. But also, it's clear he's taking things further than he did in the past. He is kind of going crazier and crazier. And I don't think he would have necessarily gone about things this way before. I don't think he would have. But I don't think he's also going to keep up this more peaceful approach for too long. He's probably going to start getting his hands dirty, probably start killing the different Marks himself. And mind you, these are evil versions of Mark. I'm not saying that they don't deserve this. They've killed a shit ton of people. We know this. So it's like, I'm not saying that he's the bad guy for wanting to go after them, but you know it's going to go to a point where he's going after our Mark, who is innocent in that regard. But he's not going to be able to differentiate things, or is just, because of his insanity, not going to care. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how far his downfall continues. But that's just a little bit at the end here. That's still setting up more for the future. Let's talk about Eve's story. So Eve, following graduation and everything, is still not like going full-time as a superhero, but is trying to help rebuild and stuff. She's dedicated her time, instead of like doing, typical superhero work, into instead rebuilding places, helping people with like food shortages or whatever, stuff like that. And it seems to be going well at first. Though in one of her confrontations with her father, it's found out that the little playground, like park-like area she built apparently was on top of a sinkhole, and that's why they hadn't been fixing that. The city and everything, which, mind you, Eve couldn't have known. I don't blame her for that. Yeah, things got fucked up, and yes, the papers and everything were also blaming her, which I think is also unfair. No one was hurt, no one died, so it's like, luckily there's that, but yeah, she would have no way to know that. Like, you just assume, like, she's at fault here. But then again, her father is the one who's blaming her mostly, and, he's a piece of shit. Like, he fucking sucks ass. And not in a sexy way. God, I hope not. I don't want to imagine him and his wife, getting it on. Mostly because of him. Like, his wife, like, she's kind of pretty. Like, I kind of dig her. But either way, point is, I got off track there. We've seen, like, throughout season 1 and in the Adam Eve special, he's just a piece of shit. He's a terrible person, terrible father, and you get to see that through, like, some of his ideals and stuff here. The entire, I'm the breadwinner of the house, I worked my ass off to get where we are, we're not going to take handouts. That entire kind of, like, ideology and stuff is so rooted in toxic masculinity, and in a lot of cases, sexism and other issues as well. It's terrible. But, I mean, we know he's like that. Again, this is not anything new. Mark is still struggling with his trauma, his pain, his depression. And we see very much in this episode that Debbie is as well. Both of them are, like, really dealing with it in unhealthy ways. Mark obviously forcing himself into his work to such a degree that it's once again starting to take away his time for others and even for himself. But also, it's a distraction. It's a distraction from his mind and his own pain and everything. Debbie is obsessing over, like, the smallest things, like a shelf or a cupboard that won't close all the way, a mailbox that won't. And she's, of course, letting these little things get to her, and they pile up, and, she, like, eventually breaks because of it. Mind you, her reaction to that absolute fucking sexist asshole of a husband in the house showing was entirely valid. Like, she had nothing to worry about there. She was not in the wrong. Like, yeah, it's not your business. It's not, like, your family relationship to deal with. But, like, if I saw someone, like, being that much of a fucking asshole to their partner and everything, I would want to stand up too. I would want to say something as well. That's so excessively fucked up. So I don't blame her for a second. Um, it's really interesting to me that Cecil had like the incorrect information on the Atlantean policy there. Like apparently really outdated information because it's like that seems off, doesn't it? I feel like Cecil would have correct information unless he was lied to or he just wasn't told about the new policy. I don't know. Um, but yeah, that was definitely unexpected. And Cecil like was trying to assure Debbie that it's like, oh, I'm trying to keep Mark safe. We're weaning him into stuff and all. But you also see him in the episode, like telling Mark, it's like, you disobey my orders again and everything. It's like, dude, calm the fuck down. He's trying to control him. And I understand why he is. He is trying to keep him safe. But he's also trying to make sure that another Omni Man doesn't happen. Not just because Mark's, also his son, but Cecil wants to make sure that that Mark keeps on a good track, and he did unfairly snap at him for going to take care of saving the Atlanteans. Though Cecil also we've seen in season 1 and stuff, and he's not exactly the most empathetic, caring person. Like him, kind of like basically saying, oh, the Atlanteans made their bed, now they have to lay in it. Basically saying good riddance to them for, in terms of dying to this monster because of the fact that they were using this monster like that in the first place. And because of, like, I guess not telling him about the new policy. It's like, he's petty as fuck, too. You have to take that into account. It's just like, come on, dude. Like, Cecil is one of those characters who's like, he's not a bad guy, but he's willing to do bad things and view things in a very negative way if he thinks it's going to help people, or if he thinks it's going to help, like, the city, the world, etc. And now he's hiding whatever the fuck is going on with Donald, so I don't know what's going on there. Was it a time travel thing somehow? I don't know. Does time travel... I mean, dimensional travel exists in this universes, so why not time travel? Because Donald seemed confused by it too, so I'm very curious about that. Um, we have this new hero guy, shapeshifter or whatever the fuck his name was. It was something like that. But he's one of those aliens. He's taken the form of one of the astronauts while the real one is back up on Mars. And he's just trying to kind of get along. He's just trying to do things and survive and not die. He seems like a good being, and he starts to act as a hero, and seems to genuinely want to, protect people and save people. He seems like a good dude. Seems like he's going to become the new Martian Man. So I'm good with him so far. I like him at the moment. Hopefully that doesn't change, though. Hopefully he stays good and isn't like some kind of secret bad guy. Another thing I want to mention is the Immortal and Kate. What? Look, listen. They're both adults. Or I guess all of them, considering all of the Kates. They're adults. It is reasonable for them to get together from that angle, right? But, like, Immortal is also Kate's like a young adult. She's like, what, mid-20s or so? Early to mid-20s? While the Immortal is, well, immortal. He's been living since, like, the dawn of time and everything. A regular, Oh God, what's the guy's name from DC? Vandal Savage. He's a regular Vandal Savage, basically. Just a good guy, more or less. Even if he is kind of an asshole and is not really running the Guardians well. I wonder if like this is how he was before, or if he's changed a bit. He seems kind of nicer in episode 1 of season 1, but I don't know. Maybe he's just, still upset and everything about what happened himself and hasn't gotten over that. That's possible. Either way, either way, it feels like a really, really kind of gross power dynamic between them. Between like the obviously vast difference in age and everything, but also like he's like the leader of the team and kind of a mentor figure to all of them. That's kind of fucking weird. And I'm not saying that she should be with Rex. No, fuck Rex. But and not in a good way. Like screw him. He's terrible. I don't like Rex. But that's just weird, right? Like I'm not the only one who thinks that's fucking weird. Cuz even if he were like normal human age, like he would be like what, 50? And she's like 30 years younger. And don't get me wrong. It's like I'm kind of one of these. I'm one of those people who believes that it's like as long as they're consenting adults and understand how the difference of age affects things, then it's their choice. But again, there's the power dynamic with their positions and everything as well, and that part kind of like gives me a little bit of the ick. More so than the age thing. I know some people are more grossed out by like big age differences like that. Um, but for me, it's kind of the combination of that with the power dynamic added in. It's like it just feels off to me because of that. It's just it's weird, and I'm not really the biggest fan of it. If I'm just being honest, if I'm being honest, um, but yeah, I don't know if she's doing it to get back at him because she knows Rex doesn't like him. But it just it also feels kind of weird, like just from a character perspective. It's like why the fuck would they get together? Like why would that happen? But I don't know. I don't know. Either way, yeah, crazy setups for a lot of stuff. But I don't know. I feel like even just outside of the stuff with Immortal, I feel like he's always on the verge of snapping. Like, is that just me? It's like he's coming across now as like needlessly aggressive, but also like needlessly intense. And again, it's probably due to what happened with Omni Man and all. I get that, but it's just like Jesus, fuck. That's just a lot, my dude. I'm I'm not sure where that's going right now, but I guess we'll see. And who knows what's going on with the Maulers? Like, did any of them survive the explode? No, I think we saw that they survived, didn't we? They just got like horrifically scarred or something, or at least one of them did. So we didn't see any of that in this episode, surprisingly, considering all the storylines we saw. Um, yeah, just I'm curious as to how all of this is going to go down. There's a lot to touch on, and again, we only have 8 episodes, and yeah, they're like almost an hour long each, but it's still a matter of like how much are you going to be able to fit in that time, and are we going to be able to tell everything that needs to be told? Now, something I want to address is apparently they were saying like the creators and writers and everyone, the staff who works on this, I think I read that they were saying that they wanted to like go for 8 seasons of this, and I'm like, is that how much like material is in the comic? But also, it's like 8 fucking seasons. And I've seen like mixed reactions to this. I've seen some people who are saying like, yeah, shows don't get that many seasons anymore. Shows, especially animated shows, are getting like 1 or 2 seasons and either being canceled or ending early or whatever. And then I've seen some people who are like, why would you dedicate yourself to that many seasons without knowing if it's going to continue to work? And like people might lose interest. It's on top of that, it's just shows really don't need to be that long anymore. It's actually better for them to like, focus to where they only need to be a couple seasons. And honestly, I'm kind of in the middle of both of these arguments because I can see valid points for either of them. But I am kind of leaning a little more towards the latter. I don't think shows need to be that many seasons anymore. I think we're at a point where shows, whether animated or not, should only be a couple seasons. And again, I understand that this is adapting a comic and everything, and there's a lot of material probably to adapt. But sometimes it's better to just cut it short. 8 seasons? I can't see myself being interested in this series for 8 seasons. I just don't see like my attention like remaining on this for that long. Like I'm trying to think of like other shows that I've actually that have been that long that I've actually kept interested in, and I think the only one that I can think of off the top of my head is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And I had like very like big connections to that series because of it literally saving my life from, suicide and everything. So it's like there was a reason that I was into it enough to where it's where I could watch 8 seasons of that. But like let's say Owl House was never canceled and had 8 seasons. It's like I don't think Owl House could work with 8 seasons. I don't think most shows could. I don't want, for example, Has Been Hotel to be 8 seasons. I don't want Hell of a Boss to be 8 seasons. I don't think either of those shows should be. I think Has Been Hotel should at most be 5. And Hell of a Boss, probably less. Probably like 4. It's like not every show needs to go on forever. Gravity Falls understood that Gravity Falls was only 2 seasons. It was only meant to be. And it honestly didn't need more. Having an entire other season could have hurt it. And it's like I'm not saying that these shows that were canceled should have been canceled when they were. No. Like Owl House should have at least gotten a full third season. And other shows like that as well. But it's like, again, it's a matter of like I don't want to see shows get 8 seasons these days. It's just at a point where it's like I'm probably gonna start losing interest in this series before it gets to like season 5. Yeah, I mean, you see how long it took me to get to season 2. Someone had to donate for me to get to this because it's like it already felt like there's just so much that they're trying to do with it. Too much. I don't know. Maybe that's just a me thing, though, to be fair. I feel like a lot of shows, like, really should be planned for being shorter these days. Or at the very least, they shouldn't, like, end in a way where it's implied that they're going to get a second season or another season in general. Or end in a way where it's, like, completely sets up or leaves off with a cliffhanger for that. Like, they should be able to stand on their own in a way to where it's like you could end it at any point and it would work. I feel like that's kind of what you should try to do if you can. It's difficult to do that, mind you, especially when a lot of creators have a lot of stories they want to tell. But I don't know. It's just I don't want to see shows going on forever. And 8 seasons for this, I don't see the value of this being 8 seasons. Honestly, this is the type of show that feels like it should only be 3. I cannot see this working past 3 seasons. I feel like you're going to have to force in plot lines past that point that won't be necessary. It just feels like it would be a completely forced and unnatural situation after that. I don't see why this show would be more than 3 seasons. Again, maybe that's just me. But especially when you're only on season 2 and you're already doing multiverse shit, it's like you're doing that at season 2 out of a planned 8. Like, there's not that much to escalate from that. Like, multiversal like shit is kind of one of the biggest threats you can have, one of the biggest plot points you can have. And it's just like it's just a certain point to where it gets to be too much. And you have to come up with new ideas that end up just not working as well. It's like, this is why the Harley Quinn series just completely lost its luster for me. It stopped being funny, it stopped being clever, it stopped being creative, and just started coming up with random bullshit that just wasn't necessary and didn't work. Because it just kept going, and it keeps going. And some shows can work with more seasons. It depends. But, like, I'm glad that, like, Squid Game is going to end with season 3. It shouldn't have more than that. Squid Game is absolutely a 2 to 3 season story. It absolutely is. And before anyone says anything, yes, I know the creator wasn't originally planning to do anything beyond season 1, but still, it needed to continue past that with how season 1 ended, but also just there needed to be more conclusiveness to things after that. Like, it's not a 1-season story. Even from season 1, that was obvious. But yeah. It's just, I'm very interested to see where this goes, but I just don't want it to become bad, you know? I don't want it to lose what has made it so special and, you know, high quality and interesting as a commentary on, you know, superhero media. I feel there's just there's only so far they can go before it starts to feel lazy and uninspired. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And hopefully it just ends up working out if they do manage to get to 8 seasons. Hopefully they manage to somehow make it work, but it's at a point where it's like, geez. It might be a bit much to try and go for that. So sorry for that long-winded rant at the end of this, but like I said before, if there's anything I forgot to talk about with this episode, or didn't think about, that you want to know my thoughts on, please ask in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.